All right, welcome in, McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Glad you're with us. Wednesday, February 25th, right here on Jocks. I'll be at the home studio today, as we referenced yesterday. Flu has hit our household, so going to try to kind of play it safe here, be around maybe to help just a little bit. But it's obviously going around. Hope you guys stay safe. Don't let it get you because it's hitting a lot. We had SEC basketball last night. We have college football news that we need to get to across the course of the show today. One of our biggest traditions in college football is now in jeopardy. Not of being gone, but maybe just being in a different place. Are we okay with that? Do we like that? That's something that we'll reference on the show today. We'll talk about just a little bit. You can always be a part of the show. 800-239-9569, 800-239-WJOX. Your thoughts on Auburn hoops right now? Where are you just on the state of the program? Where are you on where this team's ceiling may still be in your mind? Where can they go? Would love to hear from you because it was one that just didn't look great last night. And it seems to be this sort of Jekyll and Hyde team that not even the course of week to week or game to game, but possession by possession can just be very different at different points in time. And watching that one last night, just kind of tough to look at it and feel great about it, to be honest. It's one where the defense just not consistent, didn't show up enough, plain and simple couldn't get enough stops. And you're on the road against a team that has done some good things against some quality opponents. You're not going to be able to come back by 12, 14 points in the second half when your defense is playing that way. And it was frustrating. And I know all Auburn fans feel the same way. Tweeting at Mac and Cube. Let us know what you feel like could potentially be an easier fix for this team. Is it too late for that? Is it too late for any corners to be turned here? 91-79, Oklahoma gets the win last night in Norman. It was a 9-point game at the half. Auburn did not score more in the second half than the first half. Auburn shot 47% from the floor, 8 of 19 from three. They were fine with the free throw line, got to the free throw line, did a decent job from the free throw line, but they turned it over 14 times. And I thought, to me, that was kind of the story of the game. Some of the players that you normally rely on, just too many times. Keyshawn Hall, I don't know if it's trying to do too much, if it's just trying to make a play when it's really not all there. I don't understand enough about the system. If it's playing outside the system, it does feel like that a lot, honestly. But he's also one of your best scorers. I mean, he goes for 26, makes all 11 free throws, makes his only three-point attempt. So there's a little bit of forcing things that you understand because he's the guy that's getting the ball in the bucket. Overton goes for 26 points as well. But we talked to Andy Burcham yesterday, and he mentioned the importance of Tahad Pettiford and that he is a facilitator and he needs to be more of a scorer and he needs to be somebody that the offense begins to build around. When he goes, it can be pretty good. Well, last night he's 1 of 9. He scored 4 points in 29 minutes. He was 1 of 5 from three. If you're going to do that and only have 3 assists, it's going to be tough for this offense to get going. And I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you that I think the problems are so much more deeply rooted via coach, player, team. There's some new there. You know, Stephen Pearl's not going to be what Bruce was. So guys got to get on board. Guys got to do some things a little bit of a different way. Staff continuity we thought was going to help just a little bit more, but now you're 15-13, 6-9 in the league. Have the resume from a schedule strength perspective to potentially still get in. We'll have Joe Lenardi on the show at 8:20. He'll tell you exactly what he thinks about where Auburn is now, what Auburn needs to do. And I do think there's an aspect of this team that's still dangerous. When Pettiford does go, Keyshawn Murphy, Keyshawn Hall can be really good players at times. We've seen what Jovic can do, but you're just not consistently getting that. I mean, Jovic just didn't give you much last night. I don't know if he had opportunities or not. Maybe he gave you 4 offensive rebounds, 7 points, hit both the shots from the floor. I mean, maybe there's a way to force his involvement just a little bit more. John, I don't know if there's anything different that you saw from it, the way that maybe I've described it so far today, but frustrating is, I think, the way that most Auburn fans would describe it with how they watched it last night.
When I was on with Damien the other day on Morning Jocks, this was, I guess it was Monday, because this was after the Kentucky one. It's like, okay, like, yeah, Auburn had been, I think it was about a 5-game losing streak. It's like, okay, you got to win. Things are looking great. You kind of got your feet on the ground. and now things were starting to look great because the remainder of your schedule, with the exception of Alabama, like everyone else were lesser teams. So it was like, okay, now that you got this one, you should be able to start to right the ship and continue to maybe build some momentum towards, if not the SEC tournament, maybe the NCAA tournament. But we also said that this also feels like a trap game, and that Auburn can find ways to punch up and get an Arkansas team, get defending national champs in Florida, get wins like that, but then turn around and lose a game like this. And this was something that Stephen Pearl could not afford to do. And sadly, they did that. Now, I will find out in a little over an hour from Lenardi whether or not this completely puts them on the bubble or maybe out of the tournament. But it's frustrating to see because you know this team is capable of more. You've seen them the highest of highs. You've seen that they can topple giants, and yet they find
Yeah.
ways to struggle in games like this. But you also got to remember, Stephen Pearl is a first-year coach. Games like this, it's they're sadly going to happen more than they probably should. But even though he's been a player and a coach, an assistant coach, and has done this, he's got to learn how to win games like this. And the only way to do that is to go through it. And sadly, it's just going to take some time.
It's one of those things that we talk about in all sports. Really, we reference a lot in college football. I mean, what has become most valuable right now in college football? Now, the negative people say being old, but it's experience, right? I mean, we are valuing guys who have played, been in games, been in situations more than ever. And it's not like it was never that important. It's just the acquisition of experience has never been easier than it is now. And so you need a 4-year starter. Hell, you need a 7-year starter. You can go get him right now. Just go find him, get him on your team, and go. And Stephen Pearl doesn't have that experience as a head coach, and you have to learn on the job. On the job, certain things. It's the only way. And he's going to have to learn when to turn it on, when to turn it off, how to talk to some of the guys, how not to talk to some of the guys. Where Bruce had 20 years to be able to do that, and there's parts of it where you feel like he's probably trying to assert himself as a first-year coach, prove himself as a first-year coach, and I don't blame him for that. I mean, he's got to get in there and do it his way, what he thinks is the best way for his team to go win. How much will that be different year two? I don't know. It's on him. It's up to him and the people that he has around him. D, what do you see when you watch this team operate as far as maybe the one thing that's keeping them from reaching, I guess, different goals? No Damien in there. It's
I think
okay.
the
Sorry.
biggest thing for Steven and this Auburn unit, it's listen, this isn't the Final Four team from last year. Like they don't have the Walker Kesslers of the world. They don't have the Jabari Smith, the Janai Broom. Now Keyshawn Hall has been a valuable piece, but also you haven't been getting the consistency from Tahad Pettiford, a guy that you leaned on last season as a freshman. And now coming in as a sophomore, you had high expectations. Now, has he lived up to them consistently? No, but there are glimpses there. Like even last night, we saw Kevin Overton give you 26, and it still wasn't enough. You ran into an Oklahoma team that was just hot. But I think that for Auburn, you've seen them knock off some of the best teams in the country with the Floridas. They knocked off a good Arkansas team there at home, and also they had close calls with Vanderbilt, and they had close calls with Alabama. So it's the team has moments where it's like, okay, we can figure these things out, but it's not the same identity as it has been in years past when Bruce. And again, another thing too, Bruce didn't just go when he first got into Auburn. He didn't go straight to the NCAA tournament. It was a little bit of a building process. So with the way college athletics is now, you run out of patience so quick, but you also have to understand, like, this is year one in a process where, again, he's not the quote unquote defensive coordinator. He is the head coach, so a lot of it falls on him. But again, this is his first go at it.
And I'll go back to what you said about Tahad Pettiford, D. And this isn't meant to necessarily point a finger at him or blame him, but let's be real. He had to be the guy this year. Plain and simple.
No
I
doubt.
mean, we saw in limited time last year the acceleration, the burst, the ability to get to the rack. When I was at Bruce's camp this summer, he's like he's got to work on his floater. He's got to get better from long range. Teams are going to adjust offensively. They're not going to let him drive as easily. He's not going to get the one-on-ones, and he needs to be more of a facilitator. And I think the floater has come around a little bit, but I think teams done a better job of keeping him from the rack. So therefore, you got to win from the perimeter. He hadn't really done that consistently. It's not necessarily his game, not his strength. Think about where basketball is today. I mean, how many drive and kick point guards are truly helping teams at any level of basketball? I mean, you either drive, get to the rim, or you shoot. I mean, that's it. And he has not. I just where that came to mind for me just now is some of the guys that Damian started mentioning, and it's almost laughable. Like I was almost like, stop. Like they're not even. There's not a Chuma Okiki. There's not definitely not a Jabari. There's not a Janai Broom. And then add the role players that they had around those guys at the same time. Now maybe you have some comparables there, but Jahai Pettifer was going to have to be that guy if this team was going to be really good. Like, he had to be the dude. He had to be one of the 6, 7, 8 players in the SEC that we're talking about. Like, man, I love watching that dude play every night. Like, he just looks like a handful, and he's not. It's not development, off season, whatever it is. It's just it hadn't been there. It's not there. Not to say he's not a great talent. Not to say he can't still be a great basketball player. But we talk about this all the time in football. Is he a great football player? Is he a great quarterback? Is he a great athlete? Is he a great quarterback? A lot of guys are great athletes, not great quarterbacks. A lot of guys great football players, but not great position players. Like, man, he can hit, but he can't cover. You know? Like, is Nick Harbor a great wide receiver? No, but he'll run past everybody on the field, times 2 probably. So I think that's the thing. Like, is Tahad Pettiford a good enough basketball player for this team, for this system, to allow everybody to sort of hop on his back? And that just hadn't been it this year. And I think, personally, that's what it was going to have to be this year if they were going to be a team that advanced multiple times in the tournament. I'm not a basketball expert either, but, like, that's just the way that I see it. And that's the way that I thought it was going to have to be. And plain and simple, he hadn't been that guy. I mean, how many games has he taken over this year? You could make an argument for 2, probably.
if that.
So, yeah, that's what I thought this team needed, was him to be him, as my 8-year-old would say. So he hasn't been him, and
He ain't been him.
nonetheless,
Ain't been him.
um, I'll wait to drop this on you. There was an accomplishment in the household last night that we discussed during the break that you guys would have been proud of. We'll talk about it
Ooh,
during
okay.
the timeout.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nonetheless, we will talk more college basketball today as Joe Lenardi is going to be with us at 8:20. Also, Dean Blandino at 8:40. We'll talk to Dean about these new rules in the UFL. Super cool, some of them. Some, what does he think about them as far as how he's going to have to describe them, how he's going to have to talk about them, which ones does he maybe believe will have a bigger effect on the game overall than just the UFL, as far as he knows that other people are going to be watching to see kind of how that goes and what that looks like. We got that coming up for you. We'll talk some college football today. A.J. Schultz can be with us on the other side to talk Oklahoma and NFL draft. He covers the Sooners, also does some draft work. That Sooner offseason feels like it's been pretty good. How many plug-and-go offensive linemen that are just going to make a difference there? John Mateer's game, how is it going to morph? So that front 7, is the lack of depth that they did have last year going to make a big difference? We'll hit that. We'll talk to him about that. But as I mentioned, maybe we need one here in the house. Go call your local Train dealer because flu season is here. Make your home healthier with Train's Clean Effects Home Air Cleaner. It removes up to 99.9% of airborne particles, including those that cause virus, 100 times more effective than standard air filters, 8 times more effective than HEPA room filters. Find a dealer near you at Train.com. And remember, it's hard to stop a train. All right, so we'll talk a little Oklahoma when we come back on the other side, what that offseason's looked like, and maybe where the real improvements could be. All that and more next right here on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Going to go to the Higginbotham hotline, talk some college football here at 7:20. Wednesday, February 25th on Jocks. Listen online, jocksfm.com. The app is in your app store, iPhone, Android. You can download that for free. Just tell Alexa to download the Jock skill, and you'll be able to listen to us each and every morning. That way, have it at our house like it just comes on automatically when I get home every day. 3-man front's rare because my wife has it just going right away. AJ covers Oklahoma, the NFL draft. We're going to start with the Sooners, AJ, and you can follow AJ on Twitter at AJ Schultz FB. This offseason, I feel like fairly a success. Some of the coaching moves. I want to start, though, with one specific coaching move, and that is at running back. One of the all-time greats sort of pushed out of that position. New coach brought in that has some good success, a good track record. And that's a position that feels like it's always had a good track record at Oklahoma outside the past couple of seasons. How different do you think, because of the position coach and maybe some of the personnel, that position can be for Oklahoma this year?
Yeah, I think it's really fascinating because Oklahoma this year really has the depth coming in that they did not have, I kind of think, in recent seasons. Xavier Robinson and Torrey Blaylock coming back, that's two huge figures. And Lloyd Avant, they added out of the transfer portal from Colorado State, kind of gives them a little bit more of a third down back, get him with the ball out in space and some little swing passes and those things that they didn't really have. But they are really excited about the duo, the true freshman duo of Jonathan Hatton and Stephen Walker, who really that Marco Murray was able to bring to the Sooners, and that Del McCullough, who I think is obviously has an outstanding track record of development. And Oklahoma just in recent years, with injuries or it's kind of the overall offensive scheme was kind of a mess, just hasn't really had a.
All right, we think we're having some cell phone issues there from AJ. We'll give him a shot back. And listen, none of this is going to matter if things are not repaired up front for Oklahoma. None of this is going to matter if Oklahoma doesn't get the offensive line squared away. And there are a couple of pieces that were there last year that I think can be more than serviceable, can be pretty good. Bill Beatenbow, their offensive line coach, historically has done a great job. Last year was gross. There's not really too many ways around it. This is 2 straight years they've had a lot of guys dinged up. But Michael Fasusi will be back at left tackle. He can be a player. I think Eddie Pierre-Louis has done some good things. Ryan Foji has got some good snaps under his belt. You bring a couple of guys in, and you see sort of how it's going to play out. Tight end position, you wonder with Jaron Kanik and him not being able to get eligible, what that's going to look like. Can it be something that helps? But the defense probably going to have to carry a lot of this team again. And, AJ, I was just referencing how a lot of the talk about running back coach, running backs getting the ball, it's not going to matter if the offensive line doesn't improve and they can't get that group right. What's your level of confidence that that group can be much better than it was a season ago?
I think that they can be a lot better just simply off of continuity. They return so much talent on pretty much every position. The entire starting 5 are guys that started last year, which is it's huge for having that continuity up front together and those reps together for the chemistry of the whole unit. But I do agree with you that it does come down to they just have to simply be better. And they have the talent to succeed. I think the 2 freshman tackles and Michael Fasusi and Ryan Foje are just incredible physical talents. Now you've just got to get the technique and fundamentals to match that physical talent. But they, for the first time since really those Joe Moore Award-winning offensive linemen back in 2017 and 2018, OU finally has guys returning with a ton of experience under their belt. So I think the hope is kind of that chemistry together and that experience is what propels them to, okay, now we're getting back to being an elite offensive line factory, much like they were until the last couple of seasons.
Absolutely. It's going to be a big part of it. What does tight end look like? Because this Jaron Kanik situation doesn't look like it's going to go the Sooners' way. I know people look at that position. It's not one that's going to get, 80 targets and going to be critical. But with having that position on the field, alignment, forcing some matchups, it can be pretty big. And if the offensive line's a bit of a letdown again, could be something that actually becomes very beneficial for them. What does that position look like for Oklahoma heading into the spring?
So they love the Florida tight end Hayden Hansen. That was really their first big portal acquisition, and they went hard after him in the portal to try to get him to come to Norman, as because he brings a different skill set that they didn't really have at tight end last year. He's a much more physical inline blocker than really any of the guys that they had in that room last year. And so his ability to just kind of be a combo tight end, they can send him out wide. They can kind of have him in line running up the seams and obviously deliver as a blocker in both pass protection and the run game. That's just right there is an upgrade really over what most of that they had last year. And they also like Rocky Beers as kind of just like a traditional Y tight end. Just add a little bit more flexibility in the room because I think they want to try to incorporate some more 12 and 13 personnel into the offense this year, even though Ben Arbuckle has been more of an air raid guy. I think the personnel diversity is something that they really want, especially to help kind of elevate the running game next year and present, kind of some different formations for John Mateer and the wide receiver speed that they have in the room to kind of pick on, now we're getting lined up with a Sam linebacker instead of the nickel, just off of motion and things like that. So I think they kind of went in and attacked the position with a big emphasis on just trying to add a talent, but just different talent, diversify the room much more than they had in recent years. I think this is the most clarity we've kind of had in that room, really in the last several seasons. And now you add a coach like Jason Witten to that, and really feels like the room could be a real strength of the team next year.
AJ Scholl joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. We're talking Oklahoma and the Sooners heading into spring football. I have said that I think the defense can still be strength of the football team. I think the front seven still can be, but I'm just interested to get your opinion. How much different do you think they will be minus the amount of depth they had a year ago? They got good players, still good players, and a couple good players like an R. Mason Thomas going to be gone, but I thought they won a lot with depth last year because it allowed them to be hyper aggressive every week other than Texas. And for some reason, they decided not to do it that week. But every other week, I mean, it was literally like get in the Millennium Falcon, get us to light speed, and we're just going to go the entire game. Without those numbers up front, number one, can they be that aggressive? And if they're not, can their defense be as good as it was last year?
Yeah, I think the loss of R. Mason Thomas and also Grayson Halton, I think, are two pretty key losses for the Sooners that they're going to have to absorb. But I do think that they view David Stone as the linchpin for everything up front next season. David Stone, the former five-star, tremendous season this year in his sophomore year, going into his junior year now. I think the sky's the limit. I think we're probably going to be talking about him as a potential first-round pick if he stays healthy this season. They love that kid, and they have a few guys in the pass rush room that they also like with David Okoye and some of the other guys that are in there. And so it's definitely, I think that they should have been maybe a little bit more aggressive in the transfer portal and adding maybe another pass rusher, kind of exploring the depths of the defensive tackle room. But they really like Kenny Ozuwalu, their transfer from UTSA. They think he can play pretty much anywhere from 3 to 5, even some wide 9 for them. So kind of just adding that versatility into the room. He's still young. He's kind of got that athleticism. And the good thing for them, though, is that they return pretty much the entire starting secondary. They do lose Robert Spears-Jennings, but the Bone brothers are back. Cortland Guillory is back. Jacoby Johnson is back, kind of taking over the nickel role there. They love Reggie Powers at the cheetah slot. So they still have a lot of returning talent that I think will allow them to be versatile on the back end. It's just, will the trenches be as strong as they were in recent seasons? It's going to really come down to some of those young guys taking a huge step forward in their development. Luckily, Venables has a pretty good staff and has a pretty good track record of kind of developing those guys and maximizing those units.
Absolutely. Let's go to the NFL draft before we let you run. Just kind of get your thoughts there. It's Fernando Mendoza, number one. No one's going to debate that. No one even really disputes that there's another option there at the moment. Who's the next quarterback off the board in your mind?
Yeah, there's a lot of love for Ty Simpson. Obviously, I think that's kind of the consensus QB2 kind of forming right now. But I will tell you, I talked to a lot of scouts when I was at the Shrine Bowl, and Garrett Nussmeier was kind of the overwhelming opinion for you. Maybe the next guy, if they don't like Ty Simpson, it would be Nussmeier. And there were a lot of scouts that were kind of like, well, we didn't really get to see him fully healthy this year, but when we did see him last year, it was good. Like there was a reason he was, kind of thought of as a consensus top 10 pick coming into the year, and he gets hurt this year. So I'm kind of curious to see how teams stack that up, which I think might be a key part of the combine this week. But I would bet on it being one of those two guys coming out of the SEC.
Is there a player right now that is not giving mid to upper first round love that you think deserves it? You think should be you look at it and say, why is player X not being talked about off the board in the top 15, top 20?
Ooh. I feel like as it gets closer to the draft, we're going to talk about him more. But Monroe Freeling, the tackle out of Georgia, I still keep seeing some mock drafts kind of have him end of the first round, some even borderline top of the second. But I look at him, I see the tools that he has. He's still young. He played in that Georgia scheme with a lot of under center looks, a lot of different run schemes. And you look at how the NFL values traits and with his youth. And I thought he had a huge technical growth this season just in his fundamentals, particularly in pass protection. And so the arrow feels pointed way up for him. I think there's going to be a chance that come the 2026 NFL draft, he could be the first offensive tackle taken. Just with how the NFL loves tools and they love the traits that he has. And that developmental arrow, like I said, is seemingly just sky high. And if he has a big week this week at the combine, I kind of feel like we're going to start talking about him as at least a top 15 pick.
There you go. And we appreciate the time. Thanks for hopping on your first visit with us, AJ, but great stuff. Talking a little Oklahoma, a little draft. We're getting excited about the draft coming up here in a couple months. It's going to be fun. Plenty of time to talk about it. Thanks for hopping on today. We'll do it again soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
AJ Schultz, you can follow him on Twitter at AJ Schultz FB. Covers Oklahoma, also covers the NFL draft. Getting some tweet coming into the show from Louis DeArmond. Me listening to at Cole Cubelic mix sci-fi, science, and OL play with a GIF of a confused Dwight Schrute. So hopefully it's also an entertained Dwight Schrute, even though he's confused with what's happening.
You nailed the reference, so I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I think most people kind of followed it there.
Like a proud dad right now.
Maybe that was more like of an offensive up-tempo offense. I don't know what would be your movie analogy, John, for a defense like Oklahoma's last year that just played hyper aggressive all the time? Like what? Like Godzilla in the city, like walking around knocking all the buildings down?
That just came at you fast and kept going?
Yeah. If you say Fast and Furious, you're fine.
Oh, no, gotcha. No, I wouldn't do that. I mean, they weren't stealing DVDs and then ending up in space. I might say, I don't think you've seen this, but there's a movie that's on Netflix called Six Underground with Ryan Reynolds. Basically, it starts with like a 40-minute car chase explosion. And so it just came at you and was just relentless. So
I have seen that movie.
Okay,
actually.
so yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty good. Wasn't bad, but I mean, like the first third of the movie is just that opening car chase.
Like the one
scene.
agent is named Six. Is that the one? Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. I'm not sure I ever followed like what the point of it was, but it was fun. It was a fun watch.
Right. Yeah.
Nonetheless. Yeah. Maybe like Tasmanian Devil will be a good way too for us to go back to the Looney Tunes. They got a bunch of Tasmanian devils out there, and they cut them loose every week. They never wanted to go over to Yosemite Sam. It was just let Tasmanian devils do their thing, and that's kind of how we operate. So we'll continue to try to come up with ways to compare other college football teams to movies and cartoons next, right here on Jocks. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys being in. It is Wednesday, February 25th at 7:37 a.m. Talked a little college football. Talked a little Oklahoma Sooners. What's that team going to look like this year? You guys tell me. I haven't heard a lot of buzz sort of nationally about Oklahoma. I haven't heard a lot of buzz about where they're coming in. I feel like there was more chatter, more maybe positive hope as far as the ceiling was concerned for Oklahoma this time last year than there is this time this year. I don't know if you guys see that differently as far as where the Sooners are, but I almost feel like listen, I hate sleeping because we're almost not sleeping on any teams. As much as we cover college football right now, as much as we talk about it year round, not many people are truly getting slept on. Indiana 2 years ago, sure, that was one that we look at and just kind of came out of nowhere. But I don't feel like a lot of people are standing up saying, man, this Oklahoma team could really surprise some people. This Oklahoma team could really do some damage this year. Last year was when we looked at it and said maybe 10 if things go their way. Maybe they find a way to get there. That could be possible. And I just don't know if I see it that way right now.
Yeah, last year it was mostly Brent Venables, is he on the hot seat or not? Because at that point I think a lot of it was, okay, yeah, John Mateer put up a lot of numbers at Washington State. Can he do that in the SEC? And this was basically it was Brent Venables' last hope. It was basically he had to make it to the college football playoff to feel somewhat comfortable of, okay, like I know I can do this. And they did just that. But I think going into this season, I don't know. It's a lot of it had to do with, well, John Mateer got hurt for a good period of the time, so we never really saw him get back to what he was the first month of the season. So I think a lot of the question marks are can their defense replicate or get close to what they were last season? And can John Mateer stop turning the football over? And that's kind of the recipe for Oklahoma to have success.
They feel like a team that can win as many as 11 or win as many as 4.
I mean, I feel like we use that sort of analogy or description for more college football teams than ever.
Mm-hmm.
That used to be South Carolina and USC and like Florida State. And now it feels like it's a third of every league, if not more, half of every league. I mean, think about the SEC right now. Teams that we look at and say, I think they could win 8-4. I think they could win 10-6.
Yeah.
Right? It's literally half the league that we look at like that. And I've said that there's even a couple out there that people are stamping with full authority are going to win 10 or more that I'm kind of like, hold on a second. Like, what is Vanderbilt going to be this year? Because I don't think they're going to be terrible. I don't. Now, last year I said they were going to be better than the year before, and people laughed. Is Ole Miss going to be better? Golly, I feel like this is just the Alabama conversation we just had. And it's a different conversation, though. Like Missouri. What if Austin Simmons goes in there and just rips it up? New offensive coordinator. I don't know how that's going to work, but I know you got a running back you can give the ball to 35 times a game, and things are going to probably go well when he gets it. So that defensive front, I mean, we talk about Oklahoma's front taking some hits. That Missouri front took some big hits on defense, big hits. Tennessee, rebuild defense. What's the quarterback situation going to look like? Obviously, the win total is going to go up if it's Joey Aguilar, but if it's not, like what are even the real expectations? Like we've talked a lot about Marcel Reed. Are they just automatically back to 10-11 wins? Like I don't really think so. I think Elko's a good enough coach to get him close, but he's got to be further away from his ceiling than I believe he is if they're going to get there. Can they lean on the run? Similar to the Oklahoma depth on defense, A&M won't have that depth on offense because they played a lot of offensive line the first half of last year, and that paid off late in the season. Are they going to have that benefit? I mean, LSU, everybody just 10 wins, right?
Yeah, they got Lane Kiffin.
Well, they were 7-6 last year. Their quarterback's not healthy right now. He's not going through spring. So there are still questions there. And is that O-line just going to work? All the new guys? Maybe. Maybe not. Some people thought that O-line was going to work last year. So, I mean, I don't think that the ceiling is one to be debated here around 8 or 10 wins, but, like, what is Kentucky going to be? Because they actually went and got some good players in the portal, some proven players. But we have no idea what that's going to look like from a coaching, organizational perspective, motivational. Like, we just don't know. Same thing with Summerall at Florida. You wouldn't like to have Jaden Ball give the ball 235 times a game? I would really like to start there. And he's got a couple players on both sides of the ball that can be really good, but we don't know how that thing – I mean, you got a quarterback that's been with his OC that knows that system, that people have confidence in. That thing could work. Do we think Jeff Lebby is at some point just going to take off and go from that 5-6 win range to get to the 8-9 range? I mean, Kamaro Taylor's got all the talent, but I don't know how much of the quarterback is there ready to go just yet. We don't think the South Carolina ceiling's high with the takeover guys that they have. Now they need that left tackle healthy. I'll say that. Like, got to have him healthy. And then I think Oklahoma's right there in that same mix. Is running back going to work? Can they block? Does the depth on defense that's gone make that big of a dent? I mean, I think Alabama's in this conversation. Could see Alabama winning 11 or 12. I could see them winning 7 or 8. All dependent. And maybe this is just where we are from an overall perspective of college football when we talk about depth. And maybe the real issue or the real cause and effect of the lack of depth for so many teams is that when you do take that 1, 2, 3 hits that normally you could recover 80% of it, even 60, 50% of it, now you're lucky to get 20, 30% of it back with whoever rolls in there next and whatever you have next. So you can't go out there and lose 2, 3 starters and all of a sudden be a 10-win team that just goes to a 9 or an 8-win team. Like, you're fighting, scratch, and clawing to be a 6-win team now. Like you said, Damian, when John Mateer went out, they didn't even appear to be operating in the same league at quarterback. Like, the offense was just done, literally done. Couldn't do anything. Michael Hawkins couldn't do anything. And he's a kid that's got talent. So it's one of the things that's going to make it fun to watch, man. Because, like, if you look in the SEC right now, who are you two stamping with your most confidence of approval of, yes, in playoff, going to be there, going to be really good, has a great chance to be better than they were a year ago? I think we're all going to agree on Georgia.
Correct.
Right.
All of us.
Correct.
Okay. A&M?
I don't think they'll be as good as they were last year.
I'm not ready to stamp them into the playoff.
Yeah, not ready to stamp it.
I'll just say they're not going to be as good as they were last year.
Right.
Playoff discussion aside, they're not going to be close to what they were a year ago. Texas.
I think they'll be more – I say more talented, but offensively they're going to be more talented than they were last season. I'm taking the approach that Arch Manning is the Arch Manning we got in the Texas A&M game, and he's going to be like that the rest of his career.
I can't definitively say they'll be better, and I'm not ready to stamp them in the playoff, but I'm thinking right now like 10 wins.
Okay. I still want to see how they operate up front on offense. And I'll go back to what I have talked about for the last 2 years now. The Ethan Burks, the Trey Moores, the Anthony Hill Jr.'s, and I know Trey Moore was a transfer, the Michael Taffs, the guys that had the Gunnar Helms, the Jake Majors, the guys that they could lean on leadership-wise. And I do think Arch can be one of those guys because I think Arch is one of those rally-around type players. Like, you begin to see late in the year, he raises the level of other people around him because he overcame discrepancies on his offense. He made it okay for the O-line to be bad. And when you can do that as a quarterback, you're special. Bottom line. I tell people all the time, you guys have heard me say it a million times on this show, the greatest individual accomplishment I have watched in college football ever was Lamar Jackson winning the Heisman behind that offensive line. They were D- at best. They just weren't good. And it didn't matter. He made them look – he survived it. And that's kind of what Arch started doing later in the years. He started surviving subpar play at multiple spots. So that means you're raising the ability of other guys around you to be able to withstand it and still make positive things happen. I think he does that. Now, Cam Coleman, Hollywood Smothers, I don't know how these dudes fit in. I mean, this is not a knock on Sark. This is not a knock on the university. This is not a knock on their administration, but it's just what it is. Like, they're teetering, in my opinion, on like constant chemistry overload. Like, the nuclear factory in which they run on like that, if it explodes at 100 degrees, like because of what all happens there and how it go, like that thing's running on 98.9, like on average every day. Like it's just kind of waiting to explode. They're driving Lamborghinis, like they're doing internships at billion-dollar corporations. Like I mean, the official visits have a sports car lot out on the game. Like it's different, man. It just is. And so they have opportunities. They have celebrities. They're in a bigger city than any of these schools. Like there's just more. I mean, they had damn F1 coming to their town. It's like it's a different place. It is, and it's got to be just. I can't imagine trying to manage it as a head coach or an assistant coach, just because how much is going on. So therefore, you always and Sark is the ultimate culture guy. He believes it. He talks about it. He preaches it. I think he does as good a job as he can with it. But we talk about distractions.
There's a bunch. There's a bunch.
Well,
There's a bunch.
it is a distraction. Like just it in general, the whole thing, all of it. It is a literal distraction. Every bit of it, every day. So it's a mess, and you got to have some of those dudes in there, man. You got to have some hard hat culture guys, construction workers, like ditch digger guys that just want to go out there and help you try to find ways to win games. Doesn't matter how many times they touch the football. And I don't know who those guys are right now. If they got a couple of those, I think they can be one of the best teams in the nation. We'll talk more about it next right here on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Glad you're with us right here on Jocks. 800-239-9569. You want to get in, talk Texas. You want to get in, talk Oklahoma. AJ Shute did that with us a little bit earlier in the show. We got Joe Lenardi coming up at 8:20. We'll also talk with Dean Blandino at 8:40. the rule changes coming up in the UFL. Interested to get his thoughts on those, how it'll change some of his process, and maybe the impact that has down the road. It'll be a fun conversation with Dean. You can tweet into the show at Mac and Cube. Always be a part there. Listen online, jocksfm.com. App is in your app store, iPhone, Android. You can download that for free. It's another chilly day today here in Birmingham. So you probably want to know about Noble Eagle insulation. If you walk around your house and there's one part that's cool, you get to another room that's warm, those uneven temperatures can be a problem for your heating bills. You don't want high heating bills due to poor insulation. Noble Eagle insulation can help you. You got fast response times. The crews can get to customers quickly because they know Birmingham. They've been in business since 2013, established and trusted in this area. Call 205-490-2933, 205-490-2933, or find them online at nobleinsulation.com. They've helped us with just one little room in our house that we're having some issues with, had the uneven temperatures. They can spray your entire basement, entire attic, or just one area to keep your home safe and to lower those utility bills. Whether it's the cold weather now or the heat that's coming in a couple of months, Noble Eagle Insulation can help you. 205-490-2933 or nobleinsulation.com. All right, another college football concern that has arisen here recently. I want to get to that in just a moment from a scheduling perspective, but also wanted to discuss the team that we were just mentioning and what they may be up against this year and how much the schedule may actually influence what we think Texas is going to be, is, or maybe could be this upcoming season. Because let's be honest, that's just the reality of where we are. We have to at least take that into consideration, even though, as we just discussed, multiple teams in the SEC, we kind of don't know about a lot of these teams. But we can look at a lot of it and see, okay, well, I feel pretty good. Or, oh, no, this might not go according to plan. Texas got their spring game on April 18th. Texas State is the opener Saturday, September 5th in Austin. Then they have Ohio State at home. I'm going to go advantage Texas there because that heat on September the 5th, who?
It's going to be good.
Good news is it'll probably be at night because ESPN will have that game. That'll be an ABC 7:30 kick. But
so
still,
it'll be no worse than 99.
September 12th, sorry. Yeah.
It won't be in the hundreds then. Okay.
It'll be toasty. Then you have UTSA. Then you're at Tennessee. Take a week off and you get Red River. Florida at home. Now, just physically, we know what that one was last year.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get Ole Miss at home. Mississippi State at home. Then you're at Missouri. Then you're at LSU. Then you get Arkansas at home. Late rivalry game. Probably a team I would say right now I know the least about in the SEC. And then you're at Texas A&M. Here's my first thought on this schedule. If everything for everyone goes according to plan, Will Muschamp better be on point. That's all I'm going to say. Because if everything goes according to plan, now we're even stretching some plans here, but you got Julian saying week 2. Mm-hmm. You may have Joey Aguilar year 2 in that offense week 4. John Mateer, like we said with Florida, quarterback been in the system, not a ton of experience. He will by that point. Then you get Trinidad. Then you get Kamario Taylor, Mississippi State in that offense. Then you get Austin Simmons in Missouri. Then you get a transfer quarterback into LSU that we know can play and can see him play if he's healthy. And then potentially you get Marcel Reed as a third-year starter at A&M. Like, Will Muschamp better be ready to go. Because if it all goes according to plan, the roster of quarterbacks that the Texas defense could end up seeing this year is brutal. I don't know how that changes y'all's opinion on it, but could be something that changes a lot of people's opinion on it.
I'm thinking more of like just the style of game. Like we saw what happened in the swamp against Florida. And like you said, they're returning Jaden Bobb. We know what Trinidad Chambliss and don't forget Keywan Lacey in the backfield for Ole Miss. Like they're going to have to go week to week. Like, bro, we don't get any time off.
Right. And that secondary specifically. So yeah. Colin Simmons, buckle up. We're going to need you to get to the quarterback. So that could make for a fun year for Texas as well. I mentioned a rivalry in college football that is in jeopardy of at least when it's going to be played. We'll discuss it next on Jocks.